Hey guys, on today's video I'm gonna show you how to use the new feeders on the Honor Colorful Art. The new feeders are a very interesting addition because they are supposed to work as an extension of the current feed zones. And what I mean by working as an extension is that they literally work as a normal feed zone that you can place pretty much anywhere. As you can see, the hair of reindeer is feeding right next to a feeder, but I'm gonna show you exactly what it says when you pick up the feed zone that appears next to a feeder. As you can see, it is a normal feed zone, but the difference is that it displays a feeder icon inside the feed zone icon. So yeah guys, the way this works is that these feeders basically act as a normal feed zone that you can place pretty much anywhere and that will attract all the animals that are close to this area. It is hard to know exactly what is the attraction radius, but I assume it is close to 300-400 meters, which is definitely a lot. And by saying that it will attract all the animals on that radius, what I actually mean is that it will attract all the species for the species that are attracted by the bait you decide to use. On this case we're using 45 pellet feed, which I know attracts both fallow deer and red deer and occasionally roe deer. So by using this bait on the box feeder, this is the box feeder, we're gonna be able to attract all the fallow deer and all the red deer on a 400 meter radius approximately during their feed time. It has to be during their feed times in order for it to work. Look, I'm gonna show you an example right here. I mean, you saw there was a hair right here, but if we fast travel to another location where I also have another box feeder with that same bait, which is this one, you will see that it's acting as a completely normal feed zone, and there's a 9 legendary right there. I decided to save it for this video. And look at all the deer. Look at all the deer. A lot of red deer. This is just perfect for grinding because what we're doing here is basically concentrating all the red deer that inhabit this area on a single spot, on a single feed zone. So that's what these feeders do. Concentrate all the animals on an area on a single spot, acting as a normal feed zone. The real complexity of using these feeders is first of all figuring out what species are attracted by each bait, because the game doesn't tell us, and the second thing is finding the right spots. What I would suggest you is finding spots that are very open, very easy to hunt, and place the feeders there. And of course those have to be spots where the species you want to hunt are present. You know, something important about these feeders is that there are 3 different types. First of all we have the bait barrel, which is very effective for bears and wild boars. Then we have the box feeder, which is mainly effective for deer species, but it also attracts some wild boars and bears in some occasions. And then we have the post feeder, which has the advantage of being pretty much indestructible for the wild boars and the bears. Mainly the bears, because the bears I believe are the ones that are able to break the box feeders in some occasions. When it comes to the bait barrel, I know this one attracts both the black bears and the wild boar, maybe also the bigger bears, but I know for sure it attracts the black bears. So first you place it right here, wherever, on an open area. For example, I have a tent over there, so you place it at least 200 meters away from the tent to not spook the animals whenever you fast travel. And then the next thing you have to do is to refill the feeder, because it's gonna be empty whenever you place it. You can either refill it by standing next to it, it's not giving us the option, and there we have it, refill. We click refill, and as you can see we have 2 options. We have sour fermented mash and meat scraps. The meat scraps are mainly for the black bears and the sour fermented mash for the wild boars. So you are gonna click these ones because the wild boars are here on Hirschfelden, and actually you also have the option to refill the feeders on the map remotely, which is great. You can fill the feeders remotely. For example, we have another feeder up here which needs to be refilled, so we're gonna click it, refill remotely, and we're gonna use 45 pellet feed on this one because we want to attract both fallow deer and red deer over there. So the next thing, in order to be able to start attracting animals, you have to reset the time to the feed time of the animal you want to attract, in this case a wild boar. The wild boar drink during the morning, I believe from 3 AM to 6 AM. So we're gonna go to a tent, right here, and here's where it gets a bit tricky, because a lot of times the animals insta-spawn right next to the feeder as soon as you change the time, but other times it may take a while for the animals to show up. So sometimes it's actually necessary to go to the main menu and change the time again in order for some animals to appear next to the feeder. We are gonna change the time to 18 in the evening because I just checked the bait barrel during the morning feed time and there wasn't a single wild boar there. So hopefully we'll have better luck during the evening feed time. Oh look, yep, there we have him. Right next to the bait barrel, right there. And yeah, there are plenty of wild boars. So yeah, the only thing it took me was to go to the main menu, go back, change the time to the evening feed time, and there we have him, ready to be hunted. And another thing I would recommend you before using these feeders, guys, is to also place some sort of blind or tripod in order to shoot the animals around that feeder, because they are also affected by the hunting pressure, just as a normal zone. So if you happen to create too much hunting pressure right around the feeder, the animals are actually gonna stop visiting it. So yeah, be careful with the hunting pressure, use something to reduce it like a blind or a tripod, So yeah, we're gonna shoot a couple of these wild boars right there. There are 3 level 2s right there. So yeah, let's shoot a couple. If we can hit a third one, that would be amazing, but I doubt it. And yep, we dropped 2, not too bad. Now guys, the next kind of feeder is the box feeder. The box feeder can be filled with either fortified pellet feed, which is rich in protein, or multigrain flake mix. The fortified pellet feed is ideal for deer species and deer-like species like the fallow deer and the red deer, while the multigrain flake mix is ideal for example, hogs or some of the smaller antelope species like the springbok, even some rabbits and hares I believe. The main advantage of this feeder in comparison with, for example, the post feeder is that it only depletes when the animals are actually eating from it. So you can actually use the percentage of the bait remaining as a way to tell if there's an animal feeding right there, which works whenever you are far from that feeder. The main disadvantage of this kind of feeder is that they are able to be destroyed by the black bears, the grizzly bears and the brown bears I believe. So the only way to counter this is by placing a bait barrel close to it in order to distract all the bears and keep them away from the box feeder so the rest of the animals can comfortably feed there. That is definitely a good strategy, however you gotta keep in mind that you cannot place 2 feeders too close to each other. The closest you can place a feeder from each other is 300 meters. Then the next kind of feeder is the post feeder. The post feeder uses the same types of fodder as the box feeder, but has a different mechanism to dispense the feed. This means that a broader variety of species can feed from it, and it is also resistant to bear attacks since as you can see the feeder is elevated. The way this post feeder works, especially in contrast with the box feeder, is that instead of depleting only when the animals feed from it, this one depletes as soon as it dispenses feed. I don't know exactly what is the timing, but let's say it drops some bait every 10 minutes, it falls from there to the ground, and that is enough to attract the animals, but also to decrease the percentage of the bait remaining. So this percentage will be decreasing at a constant rate, which is different to the box feeders because in the case of the box feeders, the percentage only decreases when the animals feed from it. So it's definitely possible that sometimes you'll have to refill the post feeder more often than the box feeder. Now guys, something important to mention is that in order to maximize the potential of your feeders, there are a few things you need to understand. For example, one of the most important things is that it is always a good idea to place the feeders in the vicinity of animal travel routes. While the animals don't need to walk exactly on top of where the feeder was deployed, they have to wander through the general area to learn that there's a feeder there. Once it's the animal's feeding time, if you have the right setup, these animals will remember where the feeder is and will go back to feed on the exact same spot. So as well as figuring out where the animals wander across the reserve, it is also important to learn their schedules, because they'll visit the feeders mainly during their feed times. Okay guys, so it's time. That is the same level 9 we spotted earlier, but this time it is on a different feeder. The first time we spotted it, it was over here, but this time it decided to come to this feeder, which is quite close. So what I'm gonna do is that we're gonna approach him and I'm gonna try to get him using the recurve. Should be fairly easy because the wind is good, and it's gonna be probably our first time of a feeder, which will be nice. I'm excited. We should be like 60 meters out, guys. And there we have it. It's getting dark, so it's not gonna be as easy to aim. But if we manage to get to, let's say, 40 meters out, it should be a fairly easy shot. I really don't want to push this guy, so we have to be careful. Okay. He's attentive. Perfectly broadside. Oof. I don't think this shrub is gonna give us cover. Hopefully it does. It doesn't. Alright, so no cover. And this red deer is approximately 45 meters out. Yeah, 46 meters out. He's alert now. That is a terrible angle to go for the recurve, guys. So, our second option is to go and shoot it with the iron sights. I believe he's facing the opposite way now. He's right there. He's attentive. And now he's feeding. Alright. He's facing that way, which means he won't be able to see us. We're gonna be able to get closer. One of them is alert. That is not good. The level 9 is still calm. Now he's traveling, but he's not moving. That is just a terrible angle. Now he's moving. Yeah, the level 6 spook, so they are gonna leave the zone now. But we have the option to alert him right here and shoot him using iron sights. Oh my god. He's still alert. We're gonna 0 for 75. And that should be better. Yep. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible to use the recurve this time, but I wasn't gonna risk it. So yeah, we still managed to get a barrel, and that should be our first time on the new feeders. Yep, there's a very high chance this guy actually makes it. So let's see a score. 253.11, not a huge diamond, but he made it. Nice. I don't know why I taxed it. Yeah, we spent like 3/4 of our money right there. The shot was not great, we only clipped a single long and the penetration wasn't great, but I mean we got a barrel, we didn't botch it, which is what matters. We've been botching so many diamonds recently that I think we have to play it safe, at least for a while. We have to regain that confidence.